Hello all, Rick here once again looking into why exactly the Enterprise was considered the Federation Flagship, and just what that entailed. In real life, a flagship is a term given to a vessel which carries an officer of the Admiralty, and because of the seniority and rank, orders often filter down from these flag vessels, essentially making a flagship the commander of a formation, fleet, operation, or so on. In the lore of Star Trek, this term still applies, however the usage of the term flagship is a little more liberal. It spreads out to cover several other designations, most of which are simply colloquial. Not every commanding vessel of a fleet is captained by a flag officer in some operations. For example, the USS Defiant, under the command of Captain Sisko, was often considered a flagship in the Dominion War, despite it being a part of Admiral William Ross's fleet. And even when he was present on the field, sometimes the Defiant was considered the leader of active combat scenarios and loosely referred to as its flagship. The other term we hear is the one I'm focusing on here, the flagship of the Federation, or Starfleet's flagship, among a myriad of similar terms, all often directed at a single vessel, regardless of iteration or who its captain is, the Enterprise. The original pre-Federation Enterprise, the NX-01, was simply named after the Space Shuttle, and as United Earth's first true deep space exploration vessel and Warp 5 engine, it naturally bore all the attention. Stories of its exploits were routinely sent back home for the eager viewers of Earth and its colony worlds. We see this several times in Enterprise, with the crew making time to answer letters as well as reporters coming aboard for interviews with the crew. As a society, we need focal points to rally around, things to unite and focus on, and for the United Earth, this became the endeavours of space exploration through Starfleet, and Starfleet gradually capitalised on this, not in a monetary sense, but as a way to continue to attempt to share and develop mankind. Because of this, you can consider this the first flagship of Earth, in the sense that the NX-01 carried with it the focus of Starfleet, Earth, and undertook a variety of different mission profiles, simply because of the limited size of Starfleet at the time. Establishing Earth's presence more on the galactic stage through diplomacy, cultural exchange and trade, the Enterprise name was pretty much enshrined in history from this point on as being notable. So it's no surprise then that in 2245 one of the new Constitution-class starships was going to be reviving the illustrious name. The Constitution-class itself was designed from the start to be a multi-role starship, much like the original Enterprise had been, but also to be adaptable to extend its operational life through easy refits and overhauls. Because of this, the Enterprise NCC-1701 and her sister ships were already considered to exemplify the wide mission profiles of Starfleet: defence, exploration, humanitarian missions, diplomatic outreach, and more. The Federation did have classes before this that did similar things, like the Walker and Shepard, but it was also still finding its footing, and we don't know if they even allocated an official flagship in the sense that I'm talking about today at this time. When the Enterprise was launched, it did so with all this in mind, and as such, command of these first 12 vessels was given over to decorated and notable captains: Robert April, Marie Battelle, Matthew Decker, and so on. However, it was the USS Enterprise that received the moniker Flagship of the Federation. Not only was it undertaking missions in the same vein as the original NX-01, it shared the same name, and so was more than that. It was a statement from Starfleet, an outward declaration of their priorities once more. So much so that during the Klingon War of 2257, the Enterprise and similar vessels were removed from the front lines, and consistently sent on missions truer to the Starfleet mandates of exploration. A deliberate show to the rest of the galaxy that although they were embroiled in conflict, this was not their desire. This cemented even more the roles that the Enterprise was expected to undertake, now under the command of Captain Christopher Pike. Of course, after Pike, we have James Kirk, one of two captains that did the most in ratifying what the flagship status meant. In 2265, he took command of the Enterprise and began his historic 5-year mission, during which it became the first vessel to traverse the galactic barrier, partook in limited trial time travel missions, and made the most first contacts than any other ship in history until 2378. Already a highly publicised ship, both in Starfleet and without, the Enterprise's already stellar reputation, and of those who served aboard it, all grew substantially. With this rising focus, however, Starfleet began to become even more selective in the kinds of missions it undertook, with a focus being on exploratory and diplomatic ventures, and less combat roles. However, combat would often seek out the Enterprise. Both the Romulan Star Empire and Klingon Empire's understanding of the Federation grew, and ambitious commanders within each organisation started to take note of the so-called flagship. Fame and renown would be earned by anyone who could claim such a vessel or take it down, and so, along with the increased visibility, the name Enterprise also became a target. With the loss of the first Enterprise over Genesis, the second was commissioned, and with a presidential order, the honour of preserving the registry was granted, recommissioning the Yorktown to be the next USS Enterprise NCC 1701A. Once again, the vessel was granted a high-profile mission, and this time as the escort for the Klingon Chancellor Gorkon for the Khitomer Accords, possibly the most important Federation diplomatic endeavour of the century. However, during this time, that Enterprise may not have been considered the flagship of the Federation, at least post-Khitomer. With the Constitution class finally showing its age, and the fact that the Enterprise name and flagship status drew a lot of attention, the ceremonial title was appointed, on the recommendation of Captain Sulu, to another vessel, the USS Titan NCC 1777. This was the relatively newer Shangri-La class under the command of Captain Savick, but held a slightly different mission profile. Unlike the multi-role explorer of the Constitution, the Titan was more focused on defence and response missions. This too can be seen as a statement from Starfleet, that despite their willingness to assist the Klingon Empire in the face of Khitomer, they would stand for no hostilities in an uncertain time. However, this tenure seems to be short-lived, as the highly publicised launch of the Excelsior-class Enterprise B was right around the corner. Despite its disastrous shakedown, this Enterprise did eventually serve as the flagship of the Federation once more. Again, like the Constitution, the Excelsior-class was designed to handle multiple mission types, but primarily focused on exploration, charting over 142 systems during its lifetime, with several captains. However, this starship went missing in 2329, and was presumed destroyed, although its fate is unclear. There is a lot of grey area around this time in Starfleet, so it's not even certain that the Enterprise B retained the title of flagship, especially as it also partook in more clandestine operations at times, and such a high-profile name would again draw attention. The Enterprise C, under Captain Rachel Garrett, was of course famous for its attempted rescue of the Klingon colony of Narendra III, an act that served to strengthen the Klingon Federation peace treaty. However, it cannot be denied that the hostility the Romulans likely showed the Enterprise was spurred on by the fact that the Ambassador-class starship, much like its predecessors, was supposedly the pinnacle of Starfleet design, and once more the flagship. Here we see again the title brings with it a massive target. When the Galaxy-class Enterprise D was launched, the Federation had one of its most powerful and comfortable vessels ever constructed, now proudly proclaiming its status as the Federation flagship once more, and now under the command of Captain Jean-Luc Picard, the second captain to define the role. Much like the other Enterprise vessels, the D was given high-profile missions, mostly of exploration and diplomatic nature, and increasingly used by the Federation to show when they were taking a special interest in an event. By now, the reputation of the name Enterprise was not only Earthbound or even Federation-bound, but becoming a widely known name. Two examples of the Federation using the name to its advantage. Loud as a Whisper sees it escort Ambassador Reva to the war-torn Solaris V for emergency peace talks. The Enterprise is also sent on a vital mission to negotiate with the Cardassians in Chain of Command. Now in this case, Jean-Luc Picard is not only needed elsewhere, but Captain Jellicoe is considered better equipped to handle the Cardassians than Picard was. The easy option would be to send Jellicoe on another vessel, but sending the Enterprise shows the commitment that Starfleet has to the topic at hand. Of course, with fame comes infamy, and the same flagship curse brought the Enterprise D down with the Duras sisters over Viridian 3. all they cared for was some revenge and the glory of downing such a prestigious vessel. The Enterprise E is a bit different, as it emerged during the Dominion War and in the face of rising Borg paranoia, so the Sovereign class was chosen. However, even at this time of conflict, again the Enterprise E was often kept away from the front lines, much as Pike's command had been, with instead the Starship being sent on diplomatic overtures and attempts to establish ties with other governments across the quadrant. After the war, the Enterprise E was sent on a mission to Romulus to negotiate directly with the Praetor, accepting the seeming olive branch from the Star Empire. Much like the Kisma talks, this had the potential to be the largest diplomatic venture of recent history, well, aside from the Treaty of Bajor. Unfortunately, this did not pan out as seen in Nemesis, but the point was clear. Romulan peace offering? Yes, we are taking that seriously. Send the flagship of the Federation. It's presumed that the Enterprise F went on to fulfill similar roles in Starfleet between 2386 and 2401. As an Odyssey-class star cruiser, it was very much built to a similar philosophy as the Galaxy class, a deliberately over-the-top, expansive and powerful vessel with a tool for every job. The Odyssey was there to be seen. So, what can we deduce from all this? Well, the nature of being the flagship of the Federation is something that seemingly lies in this realm of official designation and combined it with a ceremonial title. Even when it never existed, Starfleet and humanity as a whole placed the NX-01 on a pedestal, because we need heroes. Then Starfleet started making multi-role vessels to cover every aspect of their mission profiles, and began designing these sorts of ships to be standard bearers, everything that they sought to embody. Among these, the name Enterprise carried the most history, so naturally it emerged as the Starfleet vessel. This creates a cycle of the Enterprise receiving some of the most high-profile and important missions, earning the most renown, and then more of the same. The focus is always on exploration and diplomacy first and foremost, although the flagship is not exempt from all combat missions, just perhaps not risked as frequently thanks to it simply being a priority target for any aggressors. The demoralising blow that its loss entails is seldom worth the risk, but the moral boosts to the Federation from its exploring and pushing the boundaries of what is known speak to the heart of the explorer in every Starfleet officer. The flagship is basically an advertisement for the Federation, and treated as such by Starfleet Command, a symbolic gesture in times of peace and even war. Thanks for watching this breakdown on just what are the responsibilities of the Federation Flagship. It might frequently be the title given to the Enterprise, but I'm sure there are other vessels to periodically bear that banner. Thanks again. I've been Rick, and until the next one, goodbye.